Let's begin by saying that every created thing is made to function in a certain manner. Every created thing is made to function in a certain manner. As a creature created by God, the Maker cut you to function in a certain manner. You were built following some functional lines. You were created following a number of functional possibilities. These functional possibilities are what we call talents. You are cut to function in a certain manner. And that means that you see the world in a certain manner. You're sensitive to some things. A thermometer just takes care of when temperatures rise and fall. Uh, you are like that somehow to a number of things. When they change this way, you're very sensitive to them. They change the other way, you're very sensitive to them. But also that some of the things will change up and change down, and it's as though they don't exist. That is how God made you. You just are different from other people because these people are cut to be and to function in other ways. So God, the God of diversity, created us and gave us different qualities and prepared us to play different roles in the world He created. Let's take, for example, we all have the five senses: hearing, smell, taste, touch, and sight. But it's very interesting how you and I are different in the manifestation of these five senses. For example, uh, have you never wondered why so many people don't hear the things you hear? You go to the same meeting, you're in the same class, you're in the same situation, the same speech was made before you, and you only hear things that concern the law. Some other person will only hear things that concern money. Some other person will only hear things that concern human relationships in that speech. We all hear, but we hear so differently. Sometimes you come out from that experience and you are discussing what happened and what was said, and somebody said, "Are you sure you were coming from the same meeting?" That is how different we are. That's how different you are from the other person. In hearing, you are very, very sensitive to some things and you are quite deaf to the others. The things you are keen about somehow define who you are and define what you may love to do for society when you are given a chance. Let's take the sense of smell. Are you surprised at the perfume choices some people make? Yes, they are so different from you. Some people want strong perfume, others want soft, tender, discreet perfume. That's how they have been made. It's not that they just want to choose this or choose that. By their upbringing, by their experience, by the things they're sensitive with, that's what they choose. And you realize that they are different from you. You are as different from them as there are the different sets of perfumes in the market. And some people don't even want the perfume at all. Absolutely. You wear a perfume, they want to walk out of the hall. That's how we are. As for taste, you wonder why some people want so much sugar and that they eat gari in sugar, but you will eat sugar in gari, depending on the quantities you put. Well, you don't want a lot of sugar. You say, oh, diabetes, you give reasons because the world to you should be as you see. But the other person doesn't see it that way. We are created differently. We are sensitive differently. Our tastes are different. We eat different things at lunch. Some people are never understand why somebody would want to eat sour things, but that's what some people just go for. If it's mangoes, they don't want sweet mangoes, they want sour mangoes. Why are they choosing that? God has cut them differently from me, and God has cut them rightly so differently from me. And when I love sweet mangoes, that's how I've been cut, and I'll also love other sweet things too. Take touch. You don't understand how anyone can stand a cane and still be in that relationship. They whip that person, and the person is still there. For you, if a mosquito bites you, you make so much noise, you want to pack out of that house because no mosquito nets have been put and so on and so forth. You don't want anything painful touch you. You can't serve in painful situations. Absolutely. But the other person who can take a whip will serve and function in painful conditions and do what you can't do because you've been cut differently. Even in our senses, God has cut us differently. Let's take sight, for example. You don't understand why anybody should enter a plane, pay money, pay a hotel, and stay to watch the waves of the sea. You don't understand that. But you know, if somebody has to pay a plane, go pay hotel rooms, pay guides to see the sea waves, then that must be very, very important for him. You surely will not want a sea profession, but you know, in life, we must have people who love the sea for life to go on well. You wonder why somebody only wants to fly a plane, how terrible it is to be in the air and you don't know when the plane can land. You prefer to be on land and drive and so on. These different tests, are different senses or our preferences. The different senses created by God show the fact that we are different, we are unique, but also that we are cut for certain purposes. And as we are sensitive to these things and take note of them, we find that we can function properly in some conditions, and others will function properly in the conditions where we are not able to function well. So in their uniqueness, they'll be useful. In our own uniqueness, we shall really be useful. So the problem is not me. The problem is not you. The problem is the fact that we ought to recognize that we have been cut very, very differently. I don't like yams. That's okay. I shouldn't eat them. I don't understand how somebody will be hungry to eat nyamangoro. That's terrible. But there's no problem with that. That's how he's been brought up, and he will work in nyamangoro conditions where I cannot work, and we all need to work in those conditions for the world to be what it is. Sometimes I wonder, why do we have problems with other people? And while I was thinking about it, I thought sometimes the problem is the education we have received. Our education gives us molds. We have to fit in this way. If it is food, it has to be like this. If it is wearing dresses, it has to be like this. If it is talking to people, you have to talk like this. These molds are there, and sometimes we don't find in certain societies the mold that fits us. You know what? Now I tell myself and I tell people that what is wrong is not me. It is the molds that have been created. The mold that holds me ought to be created in situations where I find that I am queer. So instead of fighting and blaming myself and blaming other people, I should just tell myself, maybe this is not the place where I ought to be. Maybe I have to create space for myself to function in relation to who am I in this place. I am not wrong. The others are not bad. We just have to accept ourselves, accept them, and move on. Now, having said that we are different and cut differently, we also therefore have unique places in the world. I am created differently. I'm created in a unique manner. There is certainly a unique situation that fits me squarely. If I don't find it here, I'll find it over there. If it is not there this time, it's going to come up. Talents cut us to fit different functions in society, and we come to realize that society doesn't always need us all the time, and also that when society comes to need us, sometimes we forget that the time and the period and the instance for which we were cut is over, and a new circumstance is coming up, and that we need to move away and give the chance that is cut to the size and shape to the person who can function in that situation. So As I grow on, as you grow on, as you live on, one of the fundamental things to ask is, who am I? What am I cut for? Where do I fit? Do I fit here? No. I leave space. Some other person will fit there and he will do it very, very well. Now, let's look at some examples. We shall take some examples from the Bible. In Israel, a crisis moment comes up. There is a threat. A foreign nation is threatening Israel. Who will go and speak for Israel? In that crisis moment, who will stand? The Bible tells us in that particular situation, a man called Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, the palace administrator, went forth to meet the adversary. He had the talents, he had the diplomatic training and disposition to talk to this man, calm situations, and have things go well. The second person who went along with him was Shebna, the secretary. He had to keep the record of things that were there, take note of things that were said, missing out on nothing, so that the rest of the country would prepare, the army would prepare, other things would prepare for the situation. Then you have Joah, son of Asaph, the recorder, that went to him. There was what was tied to him very, very specifically, and that crisis situation was handled. When they turned back and gave the information to the king turned to the prophet who told the nation what to do. You find different people cut differently functioning to solve that situation, and Israel comes out victorious because talents came to play. A second example is the building of the temple in Israel. We find that in 2 Chronicles 22:11 to 16. King David tells his son Solomon, "Now my son, the Lord be with you, and may you have success and build the house of the Lord your God as he said you would. May the Lord give you discretion and understanding when he puts you in command over Israel, so that you may keep the law of the Lord your God." So that Solomon would rule well, the king told him, what do you need? You need discretion, you need wisdom. Some of this were already in Solomon, and Solomon went to God, and God gave him more. He developed these by practice and by divine intervention. Talents, God always has things to do in giving people the abilities they need to be and to do all that they have to do. And we can always, depending on the situation, turn to God and have things go very, very right. And then King David tells Solomon, "You have many workmen, stone cutters, masons, and carpenters, as well as men skilled in every kind of work, in gold and silver, bronze and iron craftsmen beyond number. Now begin the work, and the Lord be with you." How was Solomon going to accomplish this task? He had to turn to different people with different talents at different times. Talents give me the ability to be useful at a certain moment in a very specific way, and then when I am done with my usefulness, I step aside and some other person does it. In the building of the temple, people related to the project depending on their talents. They did not relate depending on how close and friendly to Solomon they were. They related according to their usefulness. If we would look at life, If we look at appointments, if we look at projects and look at who is cut to do what, it's going to be a very wonderful thing. And I think that is how God created the world to function. At this level, this person is relevant. At this level, the other person is relevant. There will be need for someone who speaks like you at some moment. There will be need for someone who manages people the way you do, who has your kind of temperament, who has the knowledge you have. Because of your liking for reading, you have gained some knowledge. It will be useful at some moment. Some people don't like to read the way you do. They will not be relevant for that situation that requires a well-read person. There will be need for somebody who can manage money the way you do. There will be need for someone who can plan for the future like you, who handles money the way you know how to and the way you do. You fit into that situation. That is how talents function, and that is how we are to function. So while I am not being needed, at some moment I am sharpening up my skills. I am building up who I am. I'm building up what I know how to do, and in that way we function according to talent. No one and no talent is needed all the time. No one and no talent is needed all the time. Build yourself in the area of your uniqueness so that when your qualities are needed, you can answer present. Be ready to give way to other people when it is time for them to come up. I look at some translations that go public and I wonder, can this person not realize that he or she was not the translator when we have so many translators around? Sometimes you find some person simply because he holds a certain position, he is making some proposals with so many technicians under him or her, and I wonder, why does this person not just turn to the technicians and have them do well what they know how to do best? I am relevant, just as the other persons are relevant. In my usefulness, I'll be there. In your own usefulness, you will be there. You are not useless or irrelevant when it is the turn of another person. Perfect yourself every time you are not needed, and then the time will come again. That's what we prepared for you this morning. So one of the things I want you to do is to tell yourself, I am normal. My tests are normal. The way I see the world is normal. It's only that I am different, I am unique. I accept myself as I am, accept my way of looking at life. I know that if others don't accept me, that's how I was created, and I thank God for creating me that way. One day while I was struggling with who I am and wanting to be other people, and struggling with being inferior in one case and superior in one case, and worrying with myself, I heard this song singing, and the writer said, "Thank you, Lord, for making me me. Thank you, Lord, for making you you." Accept who you are. Accept the qualities God has given you. Accept the peculiarities you came into the world with. Accept the things you can do which no one else can do. That's your uniqueness. That's your special quality. Give the world what you alone can give. Don't fight to be someone else. If you become someone else, and certainly you can't, because you will always fail in trying to be someone else. But if you were all that time, you're trying to be someone else, who will be you? Let us just be ourselves and function the way we are created. May God bless you.